get to a temple where there are not so many devotees, and they'll be busy with other things. In Hyderabad, of course, they'll be rushing around getting ready to open up the temple. So I had to do all the cleaning myself. So I actually saw the lota there. I saw there were a couple of, smudges on it. And then I thought, oh, it's okay. No problem. And of course, because I thought that, immediately Prabhupada walked in. The first thing that he said, why is this lota not clean? Right? It always happened like that. You'd have like a little intuition about something, not do it. And then the first thing that happened afterwards, that Prabhupada would immediately get you for it. So anyway, cleaning, very important thing. So Prabhupada, of course, talked a lot about cleaning the temple. So we've done a few things about personal cleanliness. Now there's a few things about temple cleanliness, mandira marjana, cleaning the temple. So on January the 18th, Prabhupada had just arrived in Mayapur, and he went on an inspection of the whole property. It was his first morning walk in Mayapur in '76. So he went off to inspect the kitchen area. He looked in, there's this big prasadam hall. It was the original prasadam hall in Mayapur. It's in the far southern corner. And so he looked around there, and from there he went to the kitchen area. Now nowadays that kitchen area, it's a two-story building. It's next to the big kitchen, and now it's a brahmachari quarters. But in those days it was a kitchen. So it's a separate building with accommodations for householders on the upper floor. Prabhupada was not pleased to see dirt on the steps. He said it looked as if it had not been cleaned for 300 years. And he demanded to know why. When told the place was cleaned every night, he retorted, "What is the use of such cleaning if it's dirty the next morning?" One of the managers said that it was difficult to get the devotees to clean early in the morning because they wanted to complete their japa. Prabhupada, however, said that cleaning must come first and the chanting of japa another time. He stressed that unless they are prepared to work, then no one should be allowed to join us. Sri Vigrahara Dhananijanana Sringaratan Mandira Majanada. This is all temple. He said this is not an ordinary hotel, free hotel. If they cannot take care as temple, then they must go away, simply eating and sleeping, that's all, and not working. See that they do not make it a free hotel for eating and sleeping. Do not allow this. It should be clean. Why in the evening? Every morning it should be cleaned and washed and mopped. They must give up japa. First of all, clean. In the name of japa, they are dozing, and everything is unclean. This nonsense should not be allowed. You ask them, stop japping. First of all, clean. And then make japa. Under the plea of japa, they are simply dozing, he said. You should not give shelter to persons who in the name of so-called japa take advantage of free board and lodging. You should be very careful. Everyone should be, according to his capacity, engaged in some work. Do not allow this stupidity. So, Prabhupada was, he looked at everything, and he always was checking things. So another big incident that happened was a few weeks later in Mayapur. So this was on March the 4th. So once again, Prabhupada had gone for a morning walk. He'd gone outside the compound on the front road. Then he came back in. Now at that time, there was, right where Prabhupada's Samadhi is nowadays, just on the corner between, say, where the Samadhi is and where the big kitchen is. At that time, there was like a round building, and that was like a toilet block. So there was toilets on the outer edge, and then on the inner circle also, there were more toilets and showers and, hand pumps. So Prabhupada had been out in the car, he got out, he came and decided to walk down towards the prasadam hall. At the end of the line of the boundary wall, opposite the southern gate, he stopped to inspect the circular-shaped toilet block. It is meant to provide basic amenities for the families that are occupying the rooms on the front wall. Prabhupada was repulsed by what he saw. Human feces lay strewn on the outer pathway. Poking open some of the doors with his cane, he saw that each and every toilet was completely blocked with stool and overflowing. Prabhupada was shocked. He couldn't believe that it was possible that the maintenance of the block had been so neglected. He demanded to know who was responsible. One devotee explained that the newer Bengali devotees were simple village people, unaccustomed to using flush toilets. He said the Western devotees never used this block. But Prabhupada rejected the excuse. He was disgusted. I could understand if these villagers, they do not react to this because they're used to going and passing stool in the fields. But you Westerners, you are not trained in such a way. How is it that our Western men can allow this situation without doing anything about it? He called the managers and he told them, immediately you have these toilets fixed and cleaned. Then after entering the temple, greeting the deities and receiving Guru Puj, Prabhupada gave his Bhagavatam class. The verse expressed Prahlad Maharaj's feelings of humility as he described himself as being born in a family infected with the hellish qualities of passion and ignorance. It was a wonder to Prahlad that Lord Nrsingadeva had touched him personally on the head, even though such a favour had never been extended even to great personalities like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, or even Lakshmi, the Lord's eternal consort. So the toilet incident was obviously still on Prabhupada's mind. He often draws upon real-life incidents and presents them in a more refined philosophical way in class. But today, without any delay, he complained directly about what he had seen. He spelled out the serious implications of it very clearly. Prabhupada took full advantage of the description in the verse to express his disapproval of our inaction in the face of a gross display of ignorance. This is the position. Prahlad Maharaj humbly submitting because he's a Vaishnava. What is my position? My position is that I'm born of Raja and Tamagun. So this birth takes place according to the quality that we acquire. So just like I was rebuking that toilet, this child will have to go out if you can't keep him quiet. Yeah? Either keep him quiet or take him out. This birth takes place according to the qualities that we acquire. Just like I was rebuking that toilet. This is so nasty, tamagun. And if I have no response to such a tamagun place, that means that I am also of the same quality. Just like between fire and fire, there is no reaction. But fire and water, there is reaction. So similarly, Sattvagun and Sattvagun, there's no reaction. Tamagun and Tamagun, no reaction. So in English it is called incompatible when different qualities are mixed. Acid and acid you can mix, there'll be no reaction. But acid and alkaline if you mix, then there'll be effervescence immediately. So, if one is developing tamagun, then if he becomes a pig in his next life, no reaction. He'll be very glad, oh, I'm a pig, I'm a dog. There's no reaction. But if one is in sattvagun, then he cannot tolerate. Immediately obnoxious. Oh, such nasty condition. So I am very sorry that there was no reaction in such a nasty toilet room. And you are getting sacred thread, the quality of a brahmana, sattvagun. It is very regrettable. Nobody reacted. So this is the position, that unless we curb down this rajagun, tamagun, then there is no improvement. If a person in Krishna consciousness is found to have no reaction to rajagun and tamagun, then he is a dull stone. It is not improving. It is simply show bottle. And so show bottle will not help. So this prescription is there. If one develops Krishna consciousness, then it is to be understood that he has surpassed sattvagun, the Brahminical qualification. So why we offer sacred thread to a person who is coming from a very, very low family? Because it is to be understood that by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, by following the regulative principle, that he has come to the platform of sattvagun. But if it is a false thing, then there is no need of second initiation. Our process is Don't do this, do this. Chant the Hare Krishna mantra 16 rounds. And don't do this. No illicit sex, no meat eating. So that means he's becoming purified from the rotten condition of Rajagun and Tamagun. But if he does not, then there should be no second initiation. This should be the rule. Prabhupada's criticism had its effect. By mid-morning, the whole block was thoroughly cleansed and disinfected, and the managers had vowed to keep it that way. So that was a very heavy incident, very strong. There's a point. If you see something dirty and you don't react to it, that means you're in the same mode, that's all. A Brahmana can't tolerate if there's something dirty, he immediately wants to cleanse it, that's all. But if there's no reaction, then... So, again, talking about cleaning the temple. April the 3rd, 1976, is about a month later. Prabhupada was in Vrindavan. So in his class, he was telling everybody, this is Krishna. Maya tatam idam sarvam. I am spread everywhere, all pervasive, but in my person I am not there. But a devotee should understand that Krishna is on the throne, Krishna is on the floor. Therefore, we should be very careful to take care of the floor, to take care of the throne, to take care of the flower, to take care of the deities or the dishes. Everything you should worship like Krishna. You cannot neglect anything. Sri Vigrahara, Dhananijanana, Sringaratan Mandira Majanada. Everything is one. You cannot say, Krishna is here, sitting, and I can neglect this floor. That is foolishness. You should take as much care to worship the deity, to decorate the deity, as to keep the temple very, very clean. That is Krishna consciousness. You cannot say, oh, he's working in the garden, therefore he is inferior. I am working directly on the Krishna altar. No, the person who's working in the garden, Krishna's garden, he should be as careful as the man who is in the, worshipping the deity in the temple. That is wanted. So again, see the temple as Krishna. Now, when we went down to Hyderabad for the temple opening, then of course, you know, when we got there, the construction was still going on. So there's dirt everywhere, cement dust and, you know, bricks and, you know, whatever. They were still rushing around trying to get the thing fixed up. So Prabhupada gave a Bhagavatam class on the morning of the 17th. It was like just the day before they did the actual opening ceremonies. So Prabhupada cautioned the devotees to be always conscious of the sanctity of the temple. He said, wherever Krishna likes, he can bring in Vrindavan and he can have his pastimes. So this temple, do not think that it is Hyderabad place. No, it is Goloka Vrindavan. You should be very careful. Arajo Bhagavan Vrajesha Tanaya Tad Dhamam Vrindavanam. As Krishna is worshipable, similarly his place is also worshipable. Not that his place is different from him. No. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Sri Vigrahara Dhananichanana Sringaratan Mandira Majanado. As the worship of the deity is important, similarly to keep the temple very cleansed, very attractive, that is also deity worship. Those who are here working, they should keep this temple as clean as possible. Then Krishna will be satisfied. Krishna's body, this temple. Do not think it otherwise. The temple should be worshipped in that way. Therefore I ask you not to come in with shoes, even though the temple is not yet opened. Under construction, but he told them, don't wear your shoes inside. This is already the temple. It is still Krishna's temple. It is not different from Krishna. You should always remember that. The temple management, very nicely, means to render service to Krishna. So that was an interesting comment. Even if you're doing work and construction, new temple, still you have to see it as the non-different from Krishna. And because I had some practical experience before I joined Prabhupada's party when I went to Vrindavan to live in early August of 75. They made me the temple commander, literally as I walked through the door. Because in those days, you know, we didn't have so many devotees in India. And so anybody that came in, practically, you'd be grabbed and immediately you'd become a temple president or, you know, head pujari or, chief cook. So I just arrived in Vrindavan, and literally as I walked through the gate, I saw Bhakta Richard, who was from Australia. He later on became initiated as Bhagavatam Srila Prabhupada. And he'd been left behind. When the temple was opened at Ram Navami, all of a sudden we got this brand new big temple and, 10 deities to look after. And so where are you going to get all the new devotees from? It was a brand new temple. It's not like we've been preaching from Vrindavan and made local devotees. So they had to do something. So all the GBCs had to voluntarily give 2 men from each zone to populate the temple, and instantly they had to get the place running. So back to Richard, he just joined the temple in Melbourne about 2 months before, and he was on his first trip to India, so he was one of the lucky guys that got, told to stay behind. You're not going back. Now you're staying in Vrindavan, you're part of the Vrindavan temple. So he stayed, and then later I had gone back, and then after some time I got a bit unsettled, so I decided to go and move back to Vrindavan, to the temple there. So as I walked in the gate, the first person that I walked into was, back to Richard, Bhagavatam Shrine. He immediately grabbed me. He said, "Oh, come on, great, you're here." Took me straight into the temple president's room, Akshayananda Swami. He said, "I found a new temple commander." Like this. So instantly I was made the temple commander. Anyway, one of the duties that we had was keeping the temple cleansed. And Prabhupada said we had to do it 3 times a day. So the first cleansing of the temple, right after Mangalarti, immediately after the Arati, then everybody was told to go out, and we'd run up and down, throw water everywhere, and we had the squeegees. We'd run up and down with the squeegees and cleanse the temple inside. And then we'd go outside, and then we had to do the pathways all around. Well, there's no question of having a hired labour in those days. Everything was done by the devotees. So, especially when Prabhupada came, as soon as he came out on his morning walk, he would immediately be looking, to see if everything was cleansed. So, we do it first thing in the morning. Then again after the midday arati, when the temple officially closed, again we clean everything. And then again at night time, after 9 o'clock, last arati, temple closed, again we would clean everything. 3 times a day we were cleaning the temple. So anyway, when Prabhupada arrived for Janmashtami, he was there for nearly 3 weeks. So before he came out for his morning walk, we'd just run like madmen, and try to get everything clean, especially the walkways going out, up through the front gate. So we'd throw water everywhere. We'd be running like crazy. We'd do the strip from Prabhupada's house, because he would walk up the side there. We'd do that strip first so that it was clean for when Prabhupada came out. And then generally we'd be working on the other side when Prabhupada was going out for his walk. And he would always check everything out like that. So there was a really funny incident that happened. This devotee, Vishal. So Vishal, I don't know whether any of you know him, he's quite an eccentric character. But he used to like to stand at the front gate when Prabhupada would come out on his morning walk, and he'd start reciting these prayers, in praise of Srila Prabhupada. So then on December the 3rd then in 1976, I'd just become Prabhupada's servant at that point. And, the temples and devotees, they'd just run around trying to clean everything up. Prabhupada came out. There's Vishal standing at the front gate. So as Prabhupada strode out of the front gate for his morning walk, Vishal emulated the Vedic Brahmanas by chanting some verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam in praise of Srila Prabhupada. So he started announcing, "We think we have met your goodness by the will of providence." This is that verse from the first canto. Gripping the spiral-tapered walking stick that Vishal himself had given him for this year's Vyasa Puja gift, Prabhupada poked its silver tip at some puddles of water in the temple entranceway, and he interrupted him caustically. It is the grace of providence that you do not see that it is properly cleansed. He just got to that point. We think we have met your goodness by the will of providence, and Prabhupada put it. It is by the grace of providence that you don't see that it's cleansed. Unexpectedly cut short and somewhat taken aback, Vishal stammered apologetically. I'm sorry, I'll see to that, your divine grace. That is my fault. Prabhupada remained deadpan. Why there is water? This water means the shoes, dirt. It will become dirty. So you have no eyes to see? Oh, I'm blind. I'm sorry. I'll see that it's clean for you. Then become with eyes. Simply praying. What will you do? You do something practical. Leaving Vishal agape, he strode strongly off down the road with his amused disciples following. So, simply praying. What will you do? Do something practical. So, all right. Anyway, a few things there about temple cleanliness. And last little thing here about preaching to people who are not clean. Actually, this is the last thing I've got on this particular seminar. This is only about, I only put about half of the material together for this one. I haven't really gotten around to finishing off. But I found one last quote here about people who are not clean. Yeah, and how Prabhupada said that you can't really preach to people who are not clean. So this was a conversation about the arrangements that they were making for the Kumbh Mela in 1977. So Gurudas, he had been told by Srila Prabhupada, to go to Allahabad and set up the camps and everything. So he'd gone there, and then he came back and he saw Prabhupada on January the 8th in Bombay. That was about 3 days before Prabhupada actually went to the camp himself. So Prabhupada was asking him that our visitors, he said, they've got facility to come. So Gurudas told him, he said, yes, we have life member tents, and some visitors have been coming, and I've been receiving them. Now there's one thing that I wanted to ask you. A lot of youths are coming, Western youths, some hippies, but mostly clean. So some hippies have been coming. And there were 2 hippies, and I saw what they were like, so that I didn't allow them to stay. But anyway, mostly our camp is there, and until the devotees come, there are some tents that are empty. So they said, well, we need a place to stay, is that all right? So I said, all right, tonight you can stay, and then I'll let you know later on. And so we preached to them. So we're having a nice morning program there, and we have an evening program, and so they attended. So I thought, with your permission, I could erect some tents, not exactly in our living area. So the chowkidars I put outside, right on the gate. So, because I didn't think that they should live in our area, but they should be there. So the chowkidars, they have a tent. And I thought that behind the pandal, I could erect some other tents, or even behind the tin wall, where our people wouldn't see them so much. We could invite some guests, charge them something for living, and then preach to them. So he's talking about, hippies wandering around. Maybe we could put some place for them just outside our camp, kind of a little bit hidden away. Then Prabhupada said, but they will smoke. So Gurudas said, yes, well, some will. So then Prabhupada said, well, then that's bad. So then Gurudas said, well, I'm just asking, what do you think about that? But Prabhupada said, they'll drink, they'll smoke, and they'll not take bath. So these are the defects. These people are unclean. So then Gurudas said, yes, well, suppose they're willing to change. And Prabhupada said, it will spoil the cleanliness of our camp. And Gurudas said, well, of course, they won't be exactly in our camp. Prabhupada said, that may be, but their association is very undesirable. So Gurudas said, yes, well, what if somebody is willing to follow the regulations? And Prabhupada said, well, first they should be shaved, clean shaved. So will they accept that? And then they must take bath early in the morning, cleanliness. Gurudas admitted, well, no, they won't do that. So he said, I won't have that. I just thought it was a preaching opportunity. Prabhupada said, preaching? If there is not clean even, then what will they understand? If they don't even know how to be clean. So Gurudas said, well, you know, when I came, I wasn't clean either, but by your grace, I've cleaned up. Now I commented, I said, but they won't clean up. Gurudas said, well, no, I accept that. You know, I just wanted to know. So then Prabhupada said, yes. He said, people may not misunderstand that this is a hippie camp. So he didn't like the idea of having any hippies. He was prepared to tolerate it, you know, when he went to the land of the hippies, you know, San Francisco and all these places, because he had to. You know, he was just beginning. But once he got established and he got some rules and regulations and some particular standards, then he was, you know, he told us. Actually, the same thing in our Vrindavan guest house. A few months before, he had told the managers that he'd seen some kind of hippie boy and girl staying there. And Prabhupada said, why are they staying here? You know, don't allow them. He said, otherwise then it will spoil the reputation of our devotees. And Prabhupada was very keen to, you know, establish his disciples as being, you know, qualified brahmanas. And he knew we were always getting criticized from the Goswamis and other people in Vrindavan, all Malechas and Yavanas. So he said, now if you allow these hippies to come and stay with us, then local people, they'll say, just see, all these ISKCON people, they're all soft. This is their caliber. So he was, you know, not keen on that. But his point there was that if people are dirty, then how can you preach to them? All right, so that's it. That's all I've got on cleanliness for today. Any last questions or comments? No? All right, so we got what, one more session tonight? I don't know what time I'm leaving tomorrow. Oh, okay, so I'll have to do my puja before I go. So. Yeah, so that's it. And tonight will be the last session. We'll do one other topic. Maybe we'll do something on prasad. That's always popular. That's always popular. And today's Ekadasi also. Okay, so if there's no questions, we'll finish. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.